G'day. Today we're replacing a couple of bushes on a lower control trailing arm on a Ford Falcon. They're all pretty much similar, and this is the lower one. You can see it's on the lower end of the dish, and then you've also got an upper one up here. Now you can either buy it already done for the whole arm, but it's quite easy to pull these out if you've got a little press or even a vise. We'll show you how we do it. Now to start with, we're doing it on a 4-post hoist, so you want to just support the vehicle. It doesn't mean that you need to support it too much, but a little bit, just so you can pull those bolts out easily. If they're not coming out easily, what can happen, you can ruin the thread on the other side there as you're pulling it out. So you just want to try and take the load off those bolts if you can. You know, whether you have to lift it or lower it, I don't know. And probably ideally you want to take this one, the rear one, out first on this vehicle, and then there won't be any tension on that rubber at the front to wreck the thread on that bolt. I pull that one out first, and now we'll have to just probably pull that exhaust muffler down just so we can slide that bolt out. If you can see, that'll probably hit on there. Now because we've got to press these out, these have got steel sleeves, rubber in a steel sleeve. Good idea, the side that's going to go through there, just wire brush it, and it'll just slide through a little bit easier and quicker. Now to get the bush out, you've got to either press it out if you've got the proper tools, or another way you can do it is cut the rubber out and then just with a chisel punch it in. It'll fold in on itself and you'll be able to get that metal sleeve out. Gonna press it out that way. Now we need the sleeve to push it through there. You need to have this sleeve down here. Now there's a little driver. This outer edge is smaller than the outer side of the bushing, and that little step there just fits inside there. The rubber will stop it. Doesn't matter, we're just going to press it down, force it. There's one that we've taken off before. You can see it actually pushes the rubber through the sleeve, and that'll sit there like that. You've got to make sure that that's smaller than that diameter or your driver will get stuck. And the other little step's just there to guide it in. And it is pressed in pretty hard if you're pressing it straight through like that. There you go. Now this is actually hitting the bottom of that, so it's got nowhere to go. There we go. And there's a bush there. We're going to press the other one out. First of all, I've got to press down that sleeve till it's level there. So it doesn't really matter about the rubber. You can see it's about 5 mil there. That's level. Now I'll put that little driving tool in, just try and line it up as best as I can. It should sort of guide itself in anyway. There we go. And now we're trying to push the bush into this part here. And now what's happened, a little sleeve that goes through the middle of the bush has hit the bottom here, so I've just got to widen that out so I can press it down a bit more. There we go. There's a bush in there. Rightio, now comes the fun part. And here we are on the Nolathane website, and we're replacing these lower bushes here on both sides. You've got the lower trailing arm there, and you've got the upper one here. Now these don't have sleeve, they're just the rubber bushing. They've got the sleeve on the inside but not on the outside. Now you'll get a little instruction leaflet like this. You can see that one's for the 92 to AU Falcons, which are around 2000. And these are the Nolathane Bushes. Now what we've got to do is we've got to press according to those instructions. The wider part, or the wider flange, goes from the outside of the vehicle. You can see the center of the vehicle there, so we're pressing it in from the outside in. And we've also marked these on the inside. This is the right one and the left one. We're pressing them in this way. We've got our right hand side there, and I'll show you a little trick the way I do it. Put a bit of tension on there. Hang on, back it off a bit. We'll just sort of tilt it. The idea is to get that step started in there. So I'll put it like this, tilt it up like that a bit, yep. Just put tension on it. That's it, that's enough. And now you get a hammer that's not sharp. Hopefully I don't knock the camera out of the way. And what you do, might need a bit more tension, you just get that edge started. And you'll see when it pops in, the rubber will just, that sharp edge will just fall in there. If you keep pressing it like that, you'll probably damage that edge and start the rubber to rip. Now the bottom side's actually in, and I'm just tapping that in, and it's just popping in slowly. I don't know if you can see that. I'll zoom in on it in a minute. Now you can see where I've tapped it in, and that edge has gone into that sleeve where it's going. And also here I've got to just tap it. You can see it's still, that edge is just out a little bit. There we go. Just rotate that down a bit, like that, just so I can tap this bit in here. You got to keep the tension. It's a bit fiddly. You got to sort of do a bit and then tap a bit and then do a bit and then tension it up a bit more. But you can see how that's slowly popping that rubber in. Just rotate that around a bit more. Yep. Alright. Now I can feel that that sharp edge has gone into that recess a bit. So now I can press it in a bit. I might have to just move that down on the vise. And it is a little bit more awkward when the camera's right in front of me. I'm trying to show you how to do it. You can see when you tap it, the rubber sort of jumps in a bit. And you want to do it just enough, there's a bit of swarf there, just so the rubber just holds itself in there. There we go. And sometimes a little bit of soapy water helps as well. It'll just make it slide in a lot easier. And there we go. I think that flange has gone in enough. Now I can just slowly back it out until I know that the rubber's not going to push itself out of there. There we go. You'll see. Now I'm just going to put a little bit of soapy water in there. And then that goes back on that tool there, so it's got somewhere to be supported, like that. Now I've got soapy water in there, and it's a good idea to put a bit on there as well. And there we go, it's gone all the way in. Now the biggest trick with this is to leave it. I like to leave it for 10-15 minutes. I'll leave tension on there, on that rubber. But what happens, because that step's so tight in there, the other flange doesn't pop through. So by leaving the tension on the rubber, it'll just slowly just pop out itself. Okay, I'm back 15 minutes into the future. And now we're just going to slowly release that tension and just see if it... And you can see it's right up against it, so I'm assuming the other side's alright. Look at that. That's in. It's wise to just run a screwdriver there, just make sure that that sharp edge is popped out and it's sitting where it should be. But that looks alright. I suppose you could probably do this with the vise as well. And we put that the wrong way. Oh. What's happening? Lift it up a bit. Yep. Soapy water around here. If you see it bubbling, just like the rubber sort of bubbling there, just stop and let it, give it a bit of time, the rubber will just push itself down. You don't want to damage that rubber on that sharp edge there. Now I'm going to just realign this a little bit. And the reason why I've realigned it, because I'm going to put a bit extra tension there on that flange. And then I'm going to leave it for about 15 minutes, 10-15 minutes. And that'll give that bottom flange a bit of time to... And now I'm just going to do a little test. And if you see any space between that flange and that trailing arm, it means it hasn't gone through enough. So you've got to put the tension on it again. Maybe even put a little bit of soapy water on the other side, and that looks like it's gone through. There we go. You can see that's through. And it's important to take a note you've got a thickness of that flange. It's got to go from the outside of the vehicle towards the inside. The thicker flange goes to the outside of the car. And we've done the same on the other side. Make sure the flange is on both going in the same side. Okay, so now we've got the little sleeves there. We push them through the rubber. Good idea to give this a bit of a wire brush clean. And you'll notice that these have a little step there, and that's to take that little washer. And that's because there's this little part sticking out here. If you didn't put that on there, that would eventually dig into that Nolathane bush there. So you've got to make sure that that's the right way. The rear one doesn't matter so much. So what we're going to do, we're going to put the harder to put in one, which is this one first. Got to push that bolt through, and then we've got to align this hole. And the way we do that is we put a little jack there on the front part of the diff, and you can just jack it up, and that'll twist the whole diff around like this until you get that hole to line up. So we just push that in like that. The other side's the wider part. So we've got the thicker flange there. We push that in. So we put the grease that comes in the kit just on the outer flanges. And so there's the other side. And now we're going to do the one up here first. You've just got to put that washer on and maneuver it in. The washer goes on that little step, and we just try and line it up where the hole is. There we go. It's gone through. Just going to push that through a bit. You might have to twist it left and right a little bit. There we go. It's gone through. You don't have to worry about the nut yet. And now we put the other washer on it. And you can see it just sort of, there is a little bit of tension there. But if you line it up, you see the hole is out. So what I'm going to do, you can see that that diff needs to flex, or the bolt hole on the diff part has to go that way. So I'm just going to jack it up here on the front part of the diff, and that should line those holes up. If you're doing this on the ground, you'd probably use a jack there, and I'm just lifting that up until we see that line up. There we go, nearly there. Just see if that hole goes through. There we go, it's right through. Let that down now. And it's all in. And it's also a good idea to tighten these up on where the vehicle is normally sitting. If you tightened these up while it was lifted up, these rubbers are going to be under tension all the time. So you want it just to be sitting there, not under tension, otherwise they'll wear out prematurely. And if you're doing this on a 2-post hoist, all this will be hanging down. It's probably a good idea to lower the vehicle down where it's normally sitting and then tighten them up. Anyway, I hope that helps. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave any additional helpful hints or questions in the comment section below. Don't forget to throw me a beer if any of this information has saved you a bit of time or money or both. Thank you for watching.